The streaming service Netflix recently released a movie titled The Trial of the Chicago 7, featuring 7 activists in the 1970s, one of which made a name for himself here in the North Country. Social and environmental activist Abbie Hoffman went by Barry Freed here in the North Country. One of his colleagues who started the nonprofit Save the River spoke about his history. The story started back in 1978 when a group of local environmental activists were working to fight the shipping industry along the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River to ban shipping during the winter months. This is when founding member of Save the River, Richard Spencer, met Abbie.
Well, I got started because of this place, Save the River. I was one of the founders, along with Abbie Hoffman. Then he was called Barry Freed. The Corps of Engineers and actually other agencies wanted to run ships through the winter in the ice. And some scientists that were out of environmental science and forestry, but were contracted with the DEC, had done an environmental assessment they want to do a 20-mile demonstration program downriver from here. We spent a couple of weeks trying to get people to come to an informational meeting, and then there were over 400 people showed up, which is amazing.
From there, the group formed the nonprofit Save the River, but mainly used the organization as a platform to speak out on environmental issues in the area. However, Abbie Hoffman at the time was a fugitive, which is why he held the name Barry Freed.
I always thought it was pretty remarkable, somebody always said, because, Barry Freed was or Abbie was a fugitive, yet he still did this. And I just said, I saw a problem, and he knew how to solve it. All those guys in the Chicago 7, even though they had different ways of going about it, that's what they were trying to do, is make the world a better place. And that's what Barry did, or Abbie. But I think this is truly one of his, great organizing skills. I mean, this is like a classic community organizing. And we had tremendous support.
Spencer himself also dedicated his career to activism, working almost 16 years for the National Wildlife Federation in Washington, D.C. He said he was always connected to where he started right here in Clayton, New York.
When I worked at NWF, when issues would come up, part of my title was Mid-Atlantic Regional Organizer, and I covered New York. I made sure New York was a part of my, and I would come up here to testify at public hearings with Save the River. And
Spencer shared that he believes that through his work with Abbie Hoffman and additional founders of Save the River, that they changed the area and how the community approached environmental issues.
It's really amazing, as over 40 years later, this community has demonstrated a lot of support. And they're dealing with the kinds of issues that we hoped they would deal with. One thing about Abbie, I always admired about him, it was a sense of humor and his ability to, sometimes appreciate with the media, but he always had this line, this saying, he says, we do serious business, but we don't always have to be serious all the time.
And his legacy lives on here in Clayton, as the nonprofit Save the River recently celebrated their 40th anniversary. For ABC 50 Now, I'm Isabella Colello.